Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. On this video, I've got a post for you from Pro Revenge and one from a Mighty A-Hole. So if you want to get started with the stories, then just use the timestamps below the video. Now, I'd like to thank all of you that support me and my videos. It means a lot to me that you do, so thank you so much, and I hope you keep enjoying the content. And if this is the first time watching one of my videos and you like it, then consider subscribing to the channel and joining us on Discord. Now let's get started with today's stories. This post is from the subreddit Pro Revenge, and it's from user Extremely Tired of HR. I reported my former landlord to the IRS for tax fraud as revenge for him making up lies on me to keep my deposit. He had to file for bankruptcy and lost his condo. I'm glad he lost his effing house. I found this guy on Craigslist a few years ago. I like renting condos from private owners as opposed to renting apartments. Typically, by renting a condo, it's safer. You have more caring residents, you get to have a luxury apartment style home with all the amenities, and you can negotiate the price, etc. I am an excellent tenant, and anyone who I have rented from will tell you that. I paid a $1,000 deposit to move into this guy's condo. I was on a year lease. He lives in another state, but we were in the same time zone. On month 8 of my lease, I came home to a door that wouldn't open. I couldn't get the door unlocked for crap. I had 2 keys on me. As much as I tried to turn them, I couldn't. One of the keys even broke in the lock. I waited 2 hours. I called, texted, and emailed my landlord, and he did not pick up. I thought maybe he had someone to change the locks for some reason. I honestly didn't know what to think and had no one to help me. The lady who lived across from me saw me in distress as she was going into her apartment. I had never seen her, but she asked me if I were okay, and I explained to her that I couldn't get into the apartment. She told me that she knows of an on-call locksmith. She gives me his number. I tell her thanks and reach out to my landlord a few more times. No response. I had no choice but to call the locksmith. Plus, I had to pee like crap. The locksmith arrives and could not get the door unlocked with my key. He says he can replace the lock for like $100. I told him I was renting a condo and couldn't get in touch with the owner and didn't know when would be the next time I could get in touch with him. After he took the lock off, he told me it was faulty, so he replaced the lock. I told the landlord this via email and text and voicemail and told him that I could send him copies of the keys if he wanted. Okay, so fast forward to the end of my lease. I demand that he does a walkthrough with me. He said he wouldn't. I told him that if he didn't do a walkthrough, I would be notifying the condo office, as he did not have permission to sublease by the association. He then had a friend to serve as his proxy to come to meet me and walk through the unit. The place was spotless. I know how to clean. I took multiple photos and videos and showed his proxy, who is a police officer, the unit. Actually, they are both police officers who used to work together. We both literally tested all the appliances, faucets, checked the blinds, carpets, hardwood, everything. His proxy gave me the okay and said that everything looked great. I give his proxy the keys and later that night left for my new city. So fast forward a month later. I haven't heard from him about my deposit. He ignored all my emails and phone calls. He finally gets back to me 2 months after I moved out and has all this ridiculous made up crap about how I damaged his unit. Broken blinds, scratches on the hardwood floor. He made it seem like I damaged his door by getting the lock replaced. He said there were scratches on the outside of his door, rust here and there, broken dishwasher, sink, oven, and dryer. Shake my effing head, just all effing lies. I would never leave a unit in that condition. He sent me an itemized list of all the charges that magically came out to be $1,000, the same as my deposit. He was always planning to keep my money. He wanted that money to either ball on it or upgrade his condo. I hated him. I decided I wasn't going to go to court because I had moved to a different state and lived alone, but I thought of something. He rented to me under the table and likely didn't claim my rent payments as earned income. I had all my wire transfers on my bank statement. I had his routing and account number and a copy of his driver's license, as we agreed to swap IDs when I signed the lease to make sure I wasn't getting scammed. I found his out-of-state address online, gathered all my bank statements, gathered his bank account numbers, and made a report with the IRS. About a few years later, I check up on things and that bastard lost his condo and lost everything he owned in bankruptcy. I paid for and downloaded his court records and saw proof that he lost everything, including his condo and cars, and had his bank accounts ceased. I'm not sure if he has gone to jail or anything, but I'm so glad that bastard got his effing karma. He stole money from me that I gave him to rent a condo, and he ends up losing that same condo to bankruptcy. If him and anyone who calls him a friend, he can rot for all I care. Well, OP, I guess that'll teach him to try to scam his tenants. I don't know much about how the system works over there in the US with the IRS and all, but I don't think this is something they'd throw him in jail for, considering he already filed for bankruptcy and lost all of his assets to try to pay the debt, apparently. Now, me personally, I have had to deal with one or two crappy landlords who just wouldn't do anything for the tenants, and it sucked and it's frustrating, and yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, OP, and why you're so pissed at this guy. It does suck when a landlord tries to take advantage of you, or when they actually end up doing it with false claims and crap. In any case, good for filing that report, and hopefully he learned his lesson, a very expensive one. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Inheritance Throw. Am I the a-hole for not splitting my inheritance so my cousins and I can have an equal amount? My paternal grandma died when I, female 20, was 3, and my cousins, Connor, 24 male, and Olivia, 20 female, were 7 and 4 respectively. In her will, my grandmother left all her money to her grandchildren. Obviously, she didn't know how many children my dad and uncle would end up having, so her will stated that half her money would be split evenly between my uncle's children and the other half would be split evenly between my dad's children. I'm an only child, so I don't have to split the money with siblings. We get access to the money on our 21st birthday, so Connor has already had his. Olivia's birthday is next month and mine is in 7 months. My uncle, Connor, and Olivia think that it's unfair that I'm getting more money than they are. When I was 17 and Connor was turning 21, they asked my parents to split my share of the money so we would all get 33%. My parents said no because it wasn't their money and that I should be the only one who gets to decide what to do with the money after I get access to it. Since then, they've brought it up a couple of times a year, but as it's getting closer to Olivia's birthday, they've started bringing it up more often. They've even roped in members of our extended family to harass me about it through emails and texts. They say that I am being selfish by not splitting the money evenly with them and that it's unfair for me to get more money. They also like to bring up the fact that my parents have jobs with higher salaries than their parents, and being an only child meant that I got more stuff growing up, which I admit is partially true. I went to private school, did a lot of extracurriculars, went on holiday abroad at least once a year. At the same time, I didn't get everything that I asked for growing up. My parents refused to buy me a car when I was 17, and I had to buy my own car, whereas their parents did buy them a car. My dad's aunt also constantly told my uncle that my dad was the favorite child, which has left my uncle with a chip on his shoulder, and he's using me getting more money to support that idea. I don't want to split the money because it is my money. The money was left to the children of my dad, and it's not my fault that my parents only had me. My parents have also taught me how to manage my money, so I plan to put most of the money from my grandma in a lifetime ISA, use some of it to go traveling after university before starting work, a weekend trip to New York for me and my friends for my 21st birthday, and to invest the rest. So it's not like I'm planning on blowing it all in one go. Also, Connor and Olivia's share is still a lot of money each. It's more than most people inherit and more money than most people have access to in their early 20s. Connor has already blown through most of his money in the last 3 years on partying, traveling, and cars. So I don't see why I should have to sacrifice some of my inheritance to make up for the fact that he's wasted most of his. So, am I the a-hole? Well, OP, no, you are not the a-hole, regardless of whatever your family members think. And I'm talking about your uncle and your cousins, because your parents definitely support you. The will is pretty clear. The money is supposed to go 50-50 between the children of your dad and the children of your uncle. The fact that your uncle had more children has nothing to do with you or your parents. And I'm pretty sure that if you were to have had 2 siblings, your cousins wouldn't have given up part of their inheritance for everybody to get a fair 20%. Additionally, the fact that your parents have higher paying jobs is absolutely irrelevant to this whole matter. If you've already told them that it's not going to happen, then you just need to move on and ignore them. It may cause for, a strained relationship, but that usually happens in families when greed is in the mix, and we've seen that in plenty of other stories. In any case, OP, not the a-hole. What do you guys think about this? Let me know what your judgment is in the comment section, and let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. Jammy913 says, not the a-hole. Not unfair at all. Your grandma split it up fairly between her children's children. When they tell you that you're being selfish, fire back with, you're being greedy. You have no legal claim to my inheritance. If they want more money, they can go earn it. Many people go through life never receiving any kind of inheritance. You don't have to justify yourself here. You're honoring your grandma's wishes, exactly as her will has laid out. Anyone who has a problem with it can go bitch about it at her grave. Lady K-Dub says, not the a-hole. This is a fair but not equal situation. Your grandmother was very fair by splitting 50-50 to each side of her 2 sons' descendants. The situation between the cousins isn't equal for obvious reasons. Don't give them any money because if the roles were reversed, they wouldn't give you a dime extra. Evil Mel says, quote, her will stated that half her money would be split evenly between my uncle's children and the other half would be split evenly between my dad's children. Not the a-hole. Each father got 50%, which was put into a trust for when each of their respective children turned 21. There was no clause that states if one son has less children than the other, that the money would then be combined and distributed equally. OP's edit. Seeing as I've sent messages about it, I thought I'd let everyone know that my grandma did not exclude my dad and uncle. She only left the money that was in her various bank accounts to the grandchildren. The rest of her assets, such as property, jewelry, her art collection, investment portfolio, etc., was left to them. I've been asked how much money there is in total. I don't really feel comfortable saying the exact amount, but it's safe to say that even the 25% share is fractions of £1,000,000. Well, the community thinks that OP is not the a-hole, and of course I agree. Now, taking the information from OP's edit, I believe that the uncle and the cousins are just being greedy at this point because they got a lot of money, and the fact that OP's parents have higher paying jobs doesn't really impact the fact that the uncle got jewelry, property, part of a portfolio, part of an art collection. So it's not like they're struggling for money and OP just got a lot more. No, now they're just being greedy. So in short, OP, keep your money and let them do whatever they want with theirs. Just move on. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing, and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.